What's going on, everyone? So I'm in the garage. It's been a couple days later since delivery day. I've actually gotten a little bit of time to get behind the wheel of the car and really start to feel the car out a little bit. So I know I explained, why Evora, first of all, and what's happening to the M3. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it. The M3 is going nowhere. This is still O-State M3. I still plan to keep and love and enjoy the M3. At least that's the plan for now. Just as quickly as this car entered into the garage here, things happen quick. But what I will say is that after I finish, getting through the honeymoon phase of this car, I will probably drive the M3 more as well. I think both cars deliver two very different types of driving sensations. However, right now, when it comes to grabbing the keys and what car I'm getting in, it's gonna be this car. This car's amazing right now. And as I mentioned, some of the cars on the list I was considering was the AMG GTS, the Porsche 911 GT3, the Cayman GT4, an Acura NSX, and on the lower bottom of the tier, the first cars to get kicked off the list was the BMW M2, a Shelby GT350, and an Alfa Romeo 4C. All very different cars in some perspectives, but all of them represented, I guess, the best of those companies' performance-oriented cars. Each one of those cars was like the cream of the crop for those companies, and I like having some of the best built sports cars that these manufacturers can deliver, and each one of those cars kind of sat on that throne. Now, once it came down to really trying to iron out what I was interested in, big things: sound. The car needs to sound good. Handling. The car needs to handle well. And overall, just practicality, maintaining it, being able to drive it around, access speed bumps, curves, all that kind of stuff. This car went out. Reasons being, the funny joke, yeah, it has a Camry V6 block, tuned, engineered, developed by Lotus. But a part of that kind of, makes you want to believe that from a motor reliability standpoint, the car should be pretty reliable. People question the M3 not being reliable. It's been reliable to me, for the most part, and I'd like to continue to have reliable cars. With that, I wanted a car, and quite honestly, which kicked a lot of cars off the list, I want the motor behind me. I wanted a car that was either mid or rear engine for that sensation of having that type of driver dynamics. This car fit the bill, but I also wanted practicality. So overall trunk space, ability to actually go long distance and carry my own luggage. This car has a lot of luggage potential. You have a trunk in the rear, which is actually quite large considering the car, and then you have the seats in the back in this car, which really aren't seats at all, but also great area to also put luggage. So considering both of those things, that started to raise the bar on what this car can do. But most importantly, handling. I think people forget that Lotus is the gods when it comes to suspension tuning and handling. People don't know that Lotus actually has done a lot of suspension work on a lot of companies' cars as consultants. They worked on the early gen GTRs back when Nissan consulted them for suspension work, I believe. And they worked on the early gen Toyota Supra as well as the MR2 Spider. And they actually helped co-develop with and primarily did most of the development on the C4 ZR1. So they are known for being really good at delivering solid products. But they just, as a overall brand, have struggled due to money, leading to their inability to have a true network, which is what most people care about when they're buying exotic cars, sports cars, or, whoa, my garage doesn't know I'm in here. But a lot of people are considering those things when they're buying cars. I don't really need that. I can do a lot of maintenance myself, or I'm not too picky in terms of finding someone reliable enough to do some simple things. I don't plan on having too many issues, so I'm willing to take that risk. And most part, there is one Lotus dealership here. So if I ever, God forbid, need to go to a dealership, I have one. So that was peace of mind. But, people don't want to get the car because there's no Lotus dealership in their area. The techs there aren't going to be master techs because, let's be real, how many Lotuses are these techs really working on a daily basis? So for that, people kick the car out. They're like, if I'm considering this or 911, Lotus is off the list. For me, I didn't want to just be a guy in a 911, and I just wanted to have something a little more unique that I could tell a story about, that I could really explain the passion behind the car and maybe help other people consider the brand. Lotus just got bought out by Geely, so there's hope that Lotus is really going to try and develop themselves and really become a more powerful brand. And I'd like to be an advocate on representing what this product can deliver. And overall, it's white on red. It's about 3,000 pounds, 400 horsepower, 305 torque. Not stellar, fabulous numbers by any means outside of the weight. It's pretty decently light according to modern standards. It has an aluminum bonnet chassis, which is superb, and it's amazing. I mean, this car is quite honestly way more comfortable than my M3. I go over bumps and I'm like, wow, I don't feel anything in my lower back. This is amazing, and it's because the suspension can do magic. The chassis is so freaking rigid that they could really tweak and play with this suspension to be, you know, firm yet very soft in regards to rebound and its responsiveness to bumps, because the car already is so solid. So I think people think that this car is uncomfortable, and maybe for Exceges and Elises, sure, it may be uncomfortable in those regards because of the way that car is developed, primarily as a track car. This is supposed to be their GT car, their everyday I'm cruising car, and it is just that. The seats are comfortable, the bolstering's great, ability to get in and out, not bad for me, and I'm 6'1". Headroom, I'll get in there and show you guys, but when I'm sitting in the car in the exact position I want to be in, the roof is still this high from my head. Plenty of headroom for me to be able to get a helmet on or anything like that. And my 6'6" friend got in and he still had about this much headroom. And the reason kind of behind that is the owner, or like the CEO founder of Lotus, he's 6'6". And so the requirement was he needed to fit. Well, almost every above average height person can fit. Shaquille O'Neal, 7'8" Giants, probably not, but you know, they couldn't fit in any of these cars to begin with. So I just want to get that out the way. Car is very comfortable, and I mean very comfortable. Next thing, sound. Ooh, this car sounds so good. Like, there's a good amount of decent V6 sounding cars out there, but my goodness, this thing sounds about as exotic as you can hope it to be. And the way the car comes on with the valve system, it is magnificent. Like, I just want to speed just so I can hear the sound. Not as loud as the M3, not as visceral as the M3 in terms of just brute force, but it's so clean and crisp. It is like, you know, it's just refined. It's like you have a well-educated, sophisticated woman. That's what this is. And she ain't the going out young, night clubbing, you know, type of girl, which is what my M3 is most comparable to. This is a fine wine right here. This ain't your craft beer. This is a fine wine. This is a nice, well-aged steak. Like, that's the best way to describe this. Sure, you can eat a regular steak and have just as much fun. It's great, but just a little bit more you can get out of a nice, well-aged, grass-fed steak. That's this bad boy right here. I mean, it is so good. I can't explain how good it is. I just want to drive. I just want to drive. And that's what a car should make you want to do. It should make you want to drive. I don't have a Ferrari or a super exotic where I'm afraid to drive it. I'm afraid it's going to break down. I'm afraid to put miles on it. I hope the maintenance isn't going to kill me. This ain't this car. I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off. And that's the type of driver I am. I want all my cars to be driven hard. There's gonna be no babying my cars here. I already paid the money for it. I'm not buying cars to ultimately look at an investment or my return or hope it doesn't depreciate. No, I've already gone in knowing that this was a bad investment. So I'm gonna maximize my fun. So at least along the journey, it was fun as hell. I ain't worried about how much I'm gonna get on the return. So from that perspective, that's not really what I'm considering when I went to buy this car either. And I got a couple other things that I really like about the car. It's like, it has Sparko seats, it has AP Racing brakes, Blistine shocks. Like, this car is built as if like you were gonna go out and source your own aftermarket parts and put together a car a little bit better than OEM. They did a good job already taking that bar to the next level. And that brings me to my next and final point for this video. When I really went to finalize between this and a couple of the P cars, I could have finessed the 911 GT3, but really the question came down when I was really talking to Lauren was, in my current situation, all things considered, both short-term and long-term goals, at what cost am I sacrificing other long-term goals I'd like to be able to keep in motion if I did GT3? And when I really analyzed all of that, I think like a GT3 was going to be, I don't know, $4 to probably $600 more than this in terms of payments, and that's $400 to $600 that I can continue to invest into finishing my house. So buying the house was the first step. Renovating it and getting it to be the way I want is the next step, which is a process of things I'm working on over 3 years. And when I factor that in, that's where a lot of those cars that were at the top end of my budget just got kicked off, because I wanted a balance. I wanted a car that was giving me everything that I wanted, and you know, if I could save a little bit of money to maximize in some of the other areas of this, in my life I don't want to work on, then that's what I decided to do. So that's ultimately another factor for why I also chose this car. But quite honestly, when I drove the GT3, drove the GT4, and drove this car, they all gave me the same sensation. They all gave me what I was looking for when I think about a car above my M3. So it was like, I mean, that's just quite honestly what it is. I mean, just straight to the point, no bullshit. This car gave me what I was looking for. Hey, here we go again. This car gave me what I was looking for in those cars. Mid-engine, fantastic sounding, beautifully designed. I mean, just incredible to look at. A level above the M3. Handles like a dream. Track focus and ready. It doesn't. So why spend an extra 30 to 40 G's to find the 911 GT3 I want if this car does it, right? I mean, other than, you know, me being able to say I want a GT3. I'll probably still get one down the road, no doubt about it. But right now, this thing does it. And if you haven't driven one, shoot, man, go drive one. I think a lot of people take this off the list before they even drive it. You have to drive one because it will change your mind. I mean, it's not the fastest, but GT3s ain't the fastest either. Cayman GT4s aren't. So if that's your consideration for kicking this off, you're lying to yourself and you're playing yourself. Go drive one. But also, the final thing I wanted to really say, I want to mod my cars. I still, in my current phase in my life, I'm not ready to continue to be a stock boy. The best things that I enjoyed with the M3 was putting my own personalized touch on it. My budget back then wasn't so great, so I cut a little corners on the M3. There should be no corners cut on this car. I've already sourced and planned all of the mods that I want for this car. And as I've described to all my friends, this Lotus is gonna eventually be the 911 GT3 RS for Lotus. I have big plans to convert this into a track beast. In short, I'm looking to get around 500 horsepower if I'm lucky, but I know for sure I can definitely shoot between 460, 475. Good power range to be in for a 3.5 liter. I plan to get enough downforce to have about 500 pounds of downforce on the car when I'm done. Magnificent. I mean, that's going to be tremendous. I plan to change my front bumper, my rear bumper, add some aero on the skirts here to help with downforce along the wheel arches, change some of the flow along the side of the car to improve some of the balance there. Obviously, to get 500 pounds of downforce, I need a big wing on the back. I already found the carbon fiber wing I want to do there, and then I want to drop the weight. I think the car is around 3050 wet. I'm aiming for 2,900 pounds, which will require a lightweight battery, changing out some of these parts for carbon fiber, removing some of the seats, the mirror or the glass on the glass shocked trunk I have, turn that into a carbon fiber, remove the struts so I can lose some weight there, and change the wheels out and stuff like that. So I have big plans to really make this a track car, and I really hope to get into tracking over the next couple of months, and then really progress into getting a little more aggressive with it. So this is why I bought this car. I bought it so I could enjoy it in stock glory right now, and then slowly transform it into a beast. So I don't want it just to be one of the few guys you see around with a Lotus, but I also want to be one of the few guys who push this car to the limit. So I plan to do that, and I plan for it to be amazing. And I know once I get to those kind of power figures and that kind of downforce, it will absolutely shit on my M3. I mean, the power to weight ratio will be almost comparable to the M3, but the way this car handles and the improvements in terms of its suspension, its exoticness in terms of the layout of its motor and stuff like that, it's gonna be an absolute blast of a car. And I'm quite happy that I managed to actually find a white on red, because I spent a lot of time trying to find a white on red. When I bought my M3, I wanted white on red and I got impatient. I refused to get impatient. I waited about 3 to 4 months after I finally decided on this car and committed to actually find the spec that I wanted. And quite honestly, I'm pretty happy. And I know I've rambled a lot, but if you have any questions, comments, concerns, things you might be interested in with the Evora, definitely comment that below. And if you haven't subscribed, I know I've been hiatus before. I definitely plan to provide continuous content on my Evora journey. So definitely subscribe to stick around on what I have planned for the Evora. Woo! 3rd time's a charm, right? So I need to wrap this up. Plans on the Evora, as well as continuing to deliver content for the M3. So once again, for those who have stuck around, I appreciate it. And for those who are just now joining, I hope you have a great time. And please, I can't deliver better content if you guys don't tell me what you're interested in, so I can try and deliver that. But for now, this is the car.